Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. This is the HQ report. I'm only on here today because I got into a conversation about. We got into a conversation with somebody on TikTok, right? I got into not got into it, but the person on the TikTok had posted something. They posted a comment about the Cardi B. Without Black American sacrifices, Latinos wouldn't be in America or wouldn't have the rights that they had. This is what Cardi B said at one of her concerts, right? Cardi B said, if it wasn't for Black Americans, Latinos wouldn't have the rights that they had to this day. So the person wrote, someone forgot to tell Cardi B that 10,000 Black slaves ran into Mexico to escape slavery, and Mexico had to go to war for them. The Mexican and American War was because Mexicans didn't allow the white Americans into Mexico to come get the blacks. And this infuriated the white Americans, and they went into Mexico killing Mexicans left, right, and center. Right now in Mexico, there were thousands upon thousands of Black Americans that are Mexican citizens. Also, 10,000 Mexican Americans fought in the Civil War to free all Black slaves. I also hear of Black Americans fought for civil rights for everyone, but they don't mention that Mexican Americans treated the civil rights cases with Mendez versus Westminster of 1947 and Hernandez versus Texas Supreme Court 1954. Mexicans had civil rights given to them before Black Americans. Those two Mexican cases built the civil rights blueprints. Also, many of the blacks think you were in America by yourself and white men, but you didn't know that Mexican Americans were Americans before you blacks and always been in the Southwest of America since the early 2000s. So, me, of course, when they said it to me, I was like, so you trying to say that they kicked you out and blah, blah, blah. So I did my little research, right? I was doing my research about Mexicans and were they here, what was Westminster versus Hernandez, right? So I figured out that you couldn't talk about civil rights and Mexican Americans and Black Americans until you figured out the 14th Amendment. Nobody had any rights except white people had rights, except until the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was put into place for Black Americans, enslaved Black Americans who were enslaved. So they had nothing to do with Mexican Americans and blah, blah, blah. So that was the first part. After the Civil War, Black Americans had just come out of slavery, and this country had to decide what that even meant, right? Were they citizens? Did they have rights, or were they just free on paper and still second class in real life? That's why the 14th Amendment was created. It says, if you're born here, you're a citizen. Hey, Black America. And the state cannot deny you equal protection under the law. Now, let's be honest about something. This amendment did not come out of nowhere. It came from the blood, pressure, and fight of Black Americans. I got into it with this Mexican American person trying to explain to me that, us Mexicans came first. No, civil rights came along on the backs of Black Americans first. The 14th Amendment came from the blood, sweat, and tears of Black Americans, not blood, sweat, and tears of Mexican Americans. So let's be clear. It came on the backs of Black Americans fighting for equal protection, and they gave them the 14th Amendment. Because if we weren't fighting for equal rights, we weren't fighting to be considered first-class citizens, we never would have got the 14th Amendment. 1868 or 1886, one or two. So yes, Black Americans, the civil rights, all of that came off of the initial back of the Black Americans. So we can end all of that fight. It came because of enslaved Black Americans. And there are reasons that this amendment exists. But here's the part people skip over, and and I'm saying this clearly. Black Americans didn't just open the door to civil rights. We walked through it too. We didn't sit back and say, okay, we got the law, then we were done. No, we spent decades fighting to make the amendments mean something. Because after it was passed, states ignored the 14th Amendment. They created segregation anyway. even after the 14th Amendment. They created systems to keep black people locked out anyway. To this day, we still have some of those systems in place. That 14th Amendment was made because of black people. So black people were the first ones to pull out the civil rights, led to the path of civil rights and X, Y, and Z. So they fought back in the court when they wouldn't treat them as equal citizens after the 14th Amendment. Black people fought in court. They challenged segregation case after case, even when the Supreme Court said Plessy versus Ferguson, that separate but equal was okay. They kept going. Black people kept going. That fight builds all the way up to Brown versus Board of Education. But right before that was in 1947. Before Brown, Mexican-American children in California were being separated into different schools. Lower quality, separate facilities, same playbook. That came before Brown versus Board of Education. That came in 1954, where segregation in schools is finally struck down in 1954. That doesn't happen overnight. This is decades of Black Americans forcing this country to live up to the 14th Amendment. So when we say we open the door to civil rights, we open the door, we mean they built the door to keep us out. We kicked the door down and we walked straight through it under pressure the entire time. Now, while the fighting is happening, while we're still fighting for this, other groups, Mexican people, are watching us. And they're dealing with their own discrimination. That's where Latino families stepped in. Okay, so this is the 1947 Mendez versus Westminster. Before Brown, Mexican children were being separated in different schools. Lower quality schools, separate facility. This is 1947, right? Same playbook. The Mendez family said this is unconstitutional. They used the same 14th Amendment that Black people had been fighting to enforce to bolster their case, and the court agrees. Segregating Mexican-American children is illegal. Now, understand what just happened here. This case didn't create the door. Mexican-Americans' case didn't create the door in 1947. That door was already created by the Black Americans, okay? But this case walked through the door and pushed it wider. The Mexican case pushed the door open and made it wider. It proved the argument applied beyond just one group, the Black group, okay? Then comes Hernandez versus Texas. Same year as Brown versus Board of Education. A Mexican-American man is convicted by a jury where no Mexican-Americans have served for decades. That ain't random, that's exclusion. His lawyers argued the 14th Amendment that the Black people had fought so hard to get. And the Supreme Court says something powerful. The Constitution doesn't just protect Black and white people, it protects any group that is being discriminated against. That includes the Mexican group. Now let's bring this all the way home so your audience, so y'all get it. Black Americans are the reason the 14th Amendment exists. Black Americans were the first people on the front lines fighting for equal protections, all up until they can get to the 14th Amendment and beyond that. They are the ones who fought, bled, organized, and litigate to make it real. They opened the door to civil rights in this country. They didn't just open it. They walked through it step by step under fire. Latino Americans through cases like Mendez and Hernandez came behind that legal fight and said those same rights apply to us. So you need to apply them to us. Okay? They came behind that legal fight and said those same rights apply to us. And they helped expand how wide that door swung open. So the truth is, there is no competition about who or what started the civil rights era. This is a progression. Black Americans forced the system to change, and the others used that change to push even further. So we built the road to go into the city. Mexican Americans just got on the road and went into the city too, under the same umbrella in which we built. Okay. And I was like, okay, I'm having a conversation with this person, and this person, oh, women, they said there were millions upon millions of Mexican Americans and illegal Mexicans in America before the Immigration Act of 1965. As a matter of fact, the Immigration Act of 1965 messed it up for Mexican Americans, Mexican immigrants to stay in America, since the Immigration Act allowed only Africans and Asians and Latinos way down underneath Mexico to immigrate to America. White America wanted Mexicans to go back to Mexico. So I'm wondering how in the world did blacks help a Mexican American? I explained that. We don't need to explain it again. If you don't get what I said, you don't understand what the whole point is. Whole point was we opened the door. The 14th Amendment opened the door. We fought, and they made the 14th Amendment for us. So we had been fighting to get equal protection under the law through the 14th Amendment before they put the 14th Amendment into place. Okay, stop it. That's what she means when she says, if it wasn't for Black Americans, we wouldn't be where we were. We wouldn't have been into the door. So yeah, we get Westminster, Mendez, we get all of that. But it came after the hard-won fight, 40, 50 years after we fought, after we got that door busted down open. Okay, I just wanted to be clear. Okay. Because I was like, wait a minute, the history can't be that fucked up that y'all don't understand what happened. We get it. Mendez, Westminster, Texas, we get all that. But it came after we had fought 40 years to get this equal protection, before the 14th Amendment, before we kept fighting in the courts, in the laws, in the states. It came after that. Okay? So I just wanted to be clear on that and have a little subject on that, because people were like, oh, well, no, Mexican can't. No, you Mexican people, you didn't come first. You didn't paint the road. You didn't do the hard-won fight. You didn't do all of that. We were here fighting 40 years before y'all even started to come through the door. So, but it's not a competition. You contributed to the civil rights organization too. You contributed too. You just didn't contribute first. You contribute. You rode on the road that we had paved, that we had dug with hard fought shovels and shit like that. So I just want to be clear on that and make sure people get the history of it. Go back and look at the history. Go back and look at the 14th Amendment when it was fought, when it was made. Go back and look at the Mendez, Westminster, Texas versus Menendez. Go back and look at all of that. Okay. So this is what Cardi B meant. So. If you like my content on this and you appreciate it, please put a like, a share, and a subscribe in the comment section. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all.